So,
almost 40 years after we did our first gig, which was December the 8th, 1980, the day John Lennon was shot.
where did
He
you
said
go
it was in
that?
America, so it was the next morning here, but we don't care.
What about the prehistory though? Before the first gig, what happened?
Yeah, what led up to you?
Why did we even end up at the first gig? Because I wasn't even there, but I was in the previous incarnation.
It's, well, obviously I was doing the fanzine, Alternative Sounds, and just wanted to do music, and that's from my point of view. But I didn't know how to do any. I still could arguably say the same.
And meanwhile, what were you guys doing?
Yeah.
Well, I was always interested in electronics and electronic music and synthesizers and the like. Mostly electronics before all the music stuff happened.
Yeah.
And then my big sister started dating this bloke who had, and Julia also was into all the new and exciting music that was happening, exploding. And I got an amazing glimpse into this world through all the stuff that Julia talked about and Martin you talked about, and I just thought it was the most amazing thing.
I used to get promos, didn't I, and stuff as well, from labels for the fanzine. But it was from punk, that, really, and then it was how it exploded into all sorts of new creativity. And I think we all got into the electronics side, even though I still loved the punk side, but it grew out of that, didn't it?
Also, yeah, because that was the thing that enabled us to do something. Like, we weren't going to go out and buy a bunch of guitars, although we did have a drummer.
I had a guitar.
Oh, you did?
But in the end I played it with a brick and tape loops, and I thought maybe a synth's a better idea.
And then, but before the gig though,
Yeah.
we were doing things like just because we wanted to do some music together. And then we ended up at, my parents' house was the place where they didn't mind so much, so we made a racket. And we ended up just cobbling together stuff that we could use to make a noise.
Yeah, oh yeah, it was all experimental stuff.
Was
So
it my
what-
bedroom?
Yeah,
What equipment did you have then?
almost nothing.
You had the upturned tin
So I
waste
was-
basket.
I was the drummer, believe it or not, where
You had
we turned.
badges.
So
in the
we
top.
turned upside down buckets and and waste paper baskets, and I remember putting badges
And then paid
on, and then put a big A4 envelope and taping it down to
Yeah.
make a kind of a snare record.
It
Yeah.
started off as a skiffle group.
So we were like, well, we're just bashing things to make noises, and then Martin was like shouting through a rolled up newspaper.
Yeah,
in
that's
the,
it.
Oh god,
in the
yeah.
corner
Do you
of the room.
remember
A
that?
bit megaphony, I suppose. But
Yeah.
But
it's time.
it was just a way to shout better.
Make it sound a bit better, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Did
Maybe
I have a
you
bass?
should probably try.
I
it
had
again.
tapes, and they all got lost.
Oh well, probably
For best.
Probably for the best. I think you.
Then we
recorded-
found one day in a skip somewhere.
Yeah.
Went
And
back
then
there.
Julia got an
Landfill.
interest in playing, right? And this is, I think.
When did I
this
get
is-
my bass then? My first bass.
You bought a bass guitar and got the bass amp, and it was like, oh, this is loud. That's good, And so I was like bashing the tins a bit more. But then I went out and bought. I was building electronic bits and pieces just for a hobby before that, and then I finally couldn't afford much, but went out and bought a little Wasp synthesizer.
But what happened though, because you must have been thrown out in the early days, because you weren't in the first 4 gigs, because it was Chris.
I was too young. I couldn't get down.
Yeah,
the
I know
bar.
you did all those things, but then I don't know what happened when Chris did some. I think that was my guitar he played, but he wasn't very good, and I had to ask him to leave after 4 gigs.
Because the original band was
It was
indeed
Chris.
the 3 of us.
My birthday, yeah.
The original band was the 3 of us rehearsing in the
Yeah.
bedroom, and then in order to go out, I was too young and
Yeah.
couldn't play like upturned waste paper baskets in the pub. So you gave your guitar to Chris, who was a bit older,
Yeah.
and he could go out and play it. And I've always been slightly mad that he went out and played the first couple of years. But,
And then Robbo was my friend from school, and he played drums. So he
but
joined
quickly
us.
though, yeah. But wait, so Robbo we corralled to get drums in proper tricks. I couldn't play, and I was not going
Yeah.
to take waste paper baskets to them.
So I wasn't singing.
I don't know if
No,
it was
you
singing at
did
that
as
time.
well.
I think
I mean-
you probably did.
What
Yeah,
was
So-
the bass?
I think so.
I don't remember singing it very first.
Well, no, because after a bit I used to sometimes do little simple bass lines and you do vocals on songs, but that was a bit later. But the original lineup had no synths in it.
Well, no, the original lineup had no synths in it
Yeah.
because I still count me as the original. I actually count
Yeah.
the three of us as the original lineup. We were yelling, you were yelling in the corner.
Yeah.
Julia had a bass and I had my little tins.
Yeah.
That's like what I count as the birth of the
yeah.
band.
Not
And
sure
then-
everyone would agree.
And then your brother got in, and then Robbo got in.
Yeah.
And then
He left and you
Yeah.
came in on the Wasp then, didn't
that's
you?
when I bought the gear and then got the
Yeah.
to play something. So I was like, I can do it.
And then Robbo started not turning up, so we borrowed a drum machine, a pre-programmed one, and played at the Queen Inn. I don't know if that's when we got banned.
Where's the Queen
In Hillfield, next to the Casbah. It's not been there for years, but
Yeah.
and we did a gig. We borrowed this drum machine. And we went, what? Oh, so for this song, I think whatever you'd have, what would it be?
Bossa
Like?
Nova 78.
Bossa Nova, yeah. Oh, that'd be good. And
Yeah.
so we did it. I have got a tape of that.
Brilliant.
I haven't released it on the world.
No, you shouldn't.
No.
So I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I'll have to. I have digitised it. I'll send you it.
Nice.
But it was So we had. Eventually, I got a Dr. Rhythm, didn't I?
Yes, which is amazing.
Which was great. And then I got another one, Clef, and then
We had Dr. Bot. wasn't it?
someone had a 660, but it wasn't ours. We borrowed it. And then I got an 808 finally, didn't I?
But we played lots of gigs as that like tree. So there was a few gigs with the four of us with Robbo then before we kicked him out.
Yeah.
And then we played gigs as the three of us with the drum machine, right? The different drum machines. And I had my little monophonic Wasp. Julia had her bass, right? And you were singing. Julia was singing too.
Yeah.
Uh,
I have a tambourine, remember? I used to have a tambourine. I used to bash it.
but also
We
we
did out
were
of time.
not just playing gigs though. There was also the experimentation in the kind of studio. We got the. I don't know how.
Well, I got, because I'd got actually got a job, and at the uni, or the poly. So I bought the 808, I bought the 4-trackboard studio, Copycat. I bought quite a bit of stuff, didn't I?
Yeah.
And started the little studio, really.
Right. And then that studio was my bedroom.
Yeah.
That's the centre of our operations.
So we were doing recordings as well, but I think, so that was 81 into 82.
Right.
But because we were doing that, it was really, we found out it was really hard to do live, didn't we? So we actually, in 82, we sort of stopped playing for a bit and then started again in 83 because we hadn't, it didn't translate, we couldn't get it sorted. And you could think we might have had a backing tape or something, but it just was poor quality, it was awful.
It was very hard to do, yeah.
So it was because it was something new, and I think certainly new to us.
So things I remember from that era are things like playing the Musicians Union Battle of the Bands
Oh,
on the
God.
Poly,
Yeah, I
and
remember
then
that.
Lanch when we were banned
They banned because we had a synth.
because we had a
Or
drum machine
Yeah,
putting good hard-working drummers out of a job, which we
Yeah.
previously kicked out because he was not reliable. But that was interesting. That was a good thing. I remember we got a little bit of that because I remember you were saying they had posters everywhere that said "Keep Music
live.
and you changed them with
Always
a little
put an A at the
Sharpie. You put
beginning.
"Keep Music Alive," which was I
Very
thought
good.
very clever.
Yeah.
So you're a propagandist even back then.
Could you,
Yeah.
do you remember any of the other bands at the time that you were playing with?
I remember actually one of the things I've always liked for a long time. There was a fantastic track by the Orcadian,
Oh yeah.
which called "Waiting," I think.
They were from Stafford.
And it was quite there was some part of it where it was a very long song, I remember, and it developed a lot. It wasn't particularly like experimental or electronic or anything, but somehow when they just played, it was a great live experience to hear them play this song. It developed quite a lot. It was almost prog rocky, I suppose, in a way, but I don't know. That's just something that sticks in my mind from that era. Something I really enjoyed.
There was Idolise, wasn't there?
Pete Every, yeah. Wasn't it Henry's bloke as well? Don't know.
I'm not sure. But the thing is, it was not, although at the time it was in the wake of punk, then ska in Coventry, and it was all kind of new wavy punk, ska, rock, and it wasn't accepted here really.
Well, we were more in the realm of more experimental electronics, in the realm of
We should have been
Cabaret
in
Voltaire's
Sheffield,
if
really,
we were Human League,
Yeah.
early Human League, From Gristle, Cabaret Voltaire, all this kind of stuff. That was more our scene, but there was no scene like that in Coventry.
No, I mean it's changed that finally now there is more.
But back then, we
It was-
played with people like the Human Cabbages, right? And
But we went and played with Artery in Newark once, that's from Sheffield, they're a really good band. So we did that. But yeah, it wasn't much of a scene for what we did, and actually that's what led to us not doing anything here really after about 84.
yeah, there was nothing.
And when we
really
left, didn't we? We all left,
Yeah.
which was the right thing to do, and better to be known in the rest of the world than just in Coventry.
Yes.
Some of the bands that only were known in Coventry and had a big following in Cov, they just died because they're just in little circles, aren't they?
But before we left, though, was it not from the Coventry base where we did the European tours? Was that from London?
Yeah, we went to Holland and Switzerland, and we were still in Coventry,
Yeah, I thought so.
and that's when we got to know the legendary Pink Dots.
Right.
And we just thought we want to live in London because it seemed like what you should do.
So that was a significant shift in kind of the evolution of our world, where we embarked on this, much bigger scale thing, like a whole European tour.
Well, also the first 12-inch Monkey in a Bin came out early '84, and Peel was playing it.
That
We were
was
in the Music Press Single of the Week,
Right.
and then the album came out later in the year. Lots of compilations, like the Crass Records one.
Right.
So it was that '84 was the year that
That's good.
Attrition broke.
Yeah, that's where we moved to a higher gear in terms
Definitely, yeah.
of like exposure and seriousness of recording and
So we've done a lot of cassette releases actually, which
yeah,
from '82 onwards as well.
yeah.
But then it was turned into actual vinyl and could go on tour.
Right. So then the tour was quite important.
Yeah.
That was a big exposure.
Well, I think, and then it went on and on from that because we're not going to give the whole story today. Watch that when the whole series is out. This is only the pilot.
That's right. It is.
Volume.
This is
So
Beta
I was
one.
thinking that would be a good place to say what we did and how we started.
Yes.
And then your last gig was in '86, Ash.
Yeah.
I think it was. Am I right?
I think you're right. Yeah. Yeah.
Probably in London or something.
Around that time.
Because we were all in London then, weren't we?
Yeah. That's right.
So you were like, I don't know, you were a Ren boy, weren't you, for a while?
I was seduced by.
Didn't make
yes.
enough money though, so
That's
had
right.
to go to
Let's go
university.
to get a proper job indeed. So yes, I was. So that's when I went off to university, and yeah. Although yeah, that's when my first incarnation in the band ended
Yeah,
in '86.
and then and then you left as well though, because you joined the Pink Dots, and that was
That was interesting.
that was '85 or something, wasn't it? Because
Yeah.
that's when I did the Hippogonda, but you were still in the band and we did the Hippogonda Club.
Oh, that's true,
Which was a
actually,
good
isn't it?
album, yeah. Yeah, fucked up.
Yeah,
That's true.
it's true. So yeah.
So it did sort of get, and it was like, at first that was quite hard, I felt, to
Oh.
sort of have keep it going. And it
Yeah.
did falter a bit, and then in '86 we didn't do so much of the Hungry Ghosts, but it sort of faltered a bit, and also Third Mind did. He'd lost money or something, not on us actually,
Yeah.
but he put into new projects and
But that was that's another era change where we
Yeah.
had the professional recording at Berry Farm Studios
Yeah.
with Curtis Schwartz, and that was terrific. That was like a whole new experience. Like
well,
going.
at first we went to do the Voice of God in Shepherd's Bush. What's it called, that studio?
Oh yeah. I remember that.
Well, I can't remember. But yeah, we did that, and that was quite good. Just doing an 8-track, and then we went 16,
Yeah. So we're
Yeah.
getting a little more experience in the.
and then we've got that. We did Shrink Wrap there because we got a good review in Electronics Music Maker in of the first album in '84 as well, and then they said we could come and have a free day in the studio in
Amazing.
Sussex.
Yeah.
And then we made it a single as well, and it was on their cover cassette. So yeah, all that thing, but then it sort of changed, and then I did the album with Gary, the
That's
50th Gate, and then
Right.
I'd been to Holland, and then I came back and then did the Tricky Business, but then you were singing again, and that went on for a long time.
Right.
So yeah, anyway, so it has, but then eventually you did that went just briefly I think for now, but you did the Dantes Kitchen, didn't you? That was the last one, and that was nearly 20 years ago.
Wow.
It was actually came out in '04, but you probably recorded it in 2 or 3 or something. 2002 or 3.
What bits did you do on that? Dantes Kitchen?
The whole album Julia did vocals.
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant Ash. I thought you
No,
meant-
Oh no, I was,
sorry.
I was
No,
off at
no.
that point, yeah.
So, and then that was it really, wasn't it? And then I sort of had tried different singers, and then in the end I was never really, there were some good singers, but never quite clicked that well. So I'd got to the point where I was just thinking, I'll have lots of different guests, so I don't have one singer that people, oh, what about that? Are they gonna, who's with you or whatever? It's like
Yeah.
all different ones. I thought I'd just break it up. I think that wasn't, which is actually a bit of the new album's a bit like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
But so earlier, when was it actually? I suppose it's because with COVID, you couldn't really do a lot, and then it was actually Woody, last year, probably the middle of 21. He started going on about doing Death House live, didn't he? I think it was from him, really.
Yeah, it was, yeah, I think.
And then
So you should probably explain a little bit about when Woody was in the band before.
Oh, that's right.
we
You
missed
played-
him out actually.
So
Yeah,
good.
he was briefly. Well, in '82. Yeah, because we haven't talked about all the releases, but in '82 we did, because I'd made a zombie Night of the Living Dead sort of game, hadn't I?
That's right.
This Death House, and then we decided to do some improv soundtrack.
Actually, as I recall how that came about, like I had been, because the studio was in my bedroom, and
Yeah.
I loved the fact that I could just play all this synthesizer gear, and I loved all that electronic music. I was noodling around, and I recorded this long piece, and somehow I think I played it to you, Mart. And
Yeah.
I think I recall you saying something like, "Oh, this is quite good," and we've been all fans of gaming.
Yeah.
Before that, right? So you've been doing games, I've been doing games
Yeah.
and stuff. And then you
Board games.
designed this game, like board game stuff.
Yeah,
And then you designed this game, and then you realised, oh, this soundtracky thing would be a good fit.
you could put on. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but this improvisation thing that I'd done in my bedroom was like me and my mate Woody.
Yeah. But I mean, we did it again though, because I remember doing it all live on the 4-track. So
Yeah.
we must have redone it.
We re-recorded.
Yeah, with that theme in mind, I
Right.
think.
That's right, based on the game.
Yeah, so we did that, and it was cassette. But it's always been popular and released in many forms, and recently again on vinyl, about a year ago.
Apparently, people call it dark wave these days. So
Yeah, I know. So actually, it's probably because that did come out on vinyl, probably why Woody also got into the idea.
Yeah.
But yes, also one other thing, in '83 he did a couple of gigs, he added extra synth on stage in
That's right.
Coventry and Northampton, but
Yeah.
that was it, he didn't do
2
any,
shows or something.
because
Yeah.
he was really from your other band, wasn't he? From
That's right. I had a
Earsoul.
side project even though those days. Right?
Yeah.
Like all electronic Earsoul side project, and released with our rider a couple of cassettes. Yeah, one
Me too.
and one recorded live, semi-live.
Yeah.
At the public school hall, old school. But yeah, that's how that.
Yeah, so then Woody really, I mean, I didn't see him for many, many years, but a little bit recently. And then he was into doing that new, I called it Death House Variations.
Right.
Sounds a bit clever, like classical.
Yeah.
But
Yes, so he wanted to do that.
So it's a bit different, but yeah.
And he got back into doing a bit of like online, digital experimentation with modular synths virtually.
VCV Rack actually was
Yeah.
doing it all on it.
So yeah, and then he was in touch with you about, hey, wouldn't it be good to do this?
I just realised it's the same thing. I was going to check the camera actually.
What?
So we can pause and edit.
No, you can't.
Where's the smoke coming from?
Have a guess.
A bit of
The
incense.
kitchen.
No, him.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's all right. That's the effect.
Yeah, no.
So
Is it more
Richard wanted
fun?
to do Death House live, or at least was talking about doing
Yeah.
something, and then that, oddly enough, right, the opportunity presented itself by a weird set of circumstances.
Well, we did. In fact, it was the City of Culture, which had been all delayed. The Coventry City Culture year, and of course with COVID, it was delayed. But we were invited to do this performance as part of it with Mark Osborne, who'd done the early photos for us in the 80s.
Right.
And he arranged it all. So we did that at the Tin here in Coventry. It was September 21, wasn't it? So we did the Death House, and then we did it another couple of times, didn't we? Whitby, and then the Bromsgrove Steampunk Festival.
And that was very interesting because it was all instrumental, no vocals.
Yeah, it was a bit like weird to do, you know, but I had done Invocation Horror, which was a horror film score, which I'd written with Kerry, and I had performed that a few times. In fact, not just with her, with Simon. He's waiting in the wings. We haven't mentioned him
about
yet.
Simon.
Yeah, but it's gonna be
Episode 2.
yeah. Wait for your cue. But so I'd already done that, but at the same time, me and Simon have been doing lots of improv with getting into hardware modular things as well. Partly again during lockdown because it was good fun, and doing another project, and so it kind of lent itself to doing these instrumental things. But we did a few of those, but then after a bit, Julia came back. You can perhaps explain about that.
Yeah.
Well, because Ashley started playing Death House, I thought, hey, my brother's playing in a band, I'll come and watch.
That's right.
Yeah, of course you can.
Oh, that's right. You
Give
came to
him
see.
moral support.
Yeah.
Yes, that was terrific.
And it all sort of snowballed from there, really. And I thought, oh, I'm enjoying this again.
Yeah, because you
Coming
said,
out
well,
watching
Julia
it.
said to me that she might want to do
Yes.
it again, and I'll just see. I'll have another talk with her.
I can't tell you how it. So when Mark, when you and I started to do Death House again,
Yeah.
and I was flying back from California to come and stay at my lovely sister's house, and husband, and rehearse and get ready for these gigs and do these shows and stuff. My wildest dream was that someday, perhaps there'd be a chance that Julia might want to sing again with the band, and we get the old band back together. But I had I daren't even talk about it. So I was so excited about it. And I was getting up I remember I talked to Martha about it quietly one day.
Yeah, that was nice.
And I was getting up
Sneaky.
I was getting up the courage
To talk to me about
to actually ask you, but I didn't, I was
what do you think about it?
it was such a dream of mine for it to happen that I daren't even broach the subject in case, you were saying, no, I'm not really into it. And then after the second or so gig that I'd done and been over, we were out driving somewhere, you were driving me somewhere nice, as always, and you said, you know what, wouldn't it be fun if, I came and sang with the band again a bit? Don't you think that'd be fun? And I nearly wet myself. I was so excited that that was a possibility, and it was my dream come true.
So
So how do you think about that? It's like, literally, I suppose it's like I haven't really said.
Yeah.
I was
I
very
mean,
excited.
because it's like my life had changed a bit because I'd lost my mum, who I'd been caring for at least sort of getting on for 10 years really, as she got older and older, but now that wasn't there anymore, and you start hitting a certain age and you think, well, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
I
Sort of thing.
always think it's funny that your mum got into music later on again, didn't she?
Yes,
As well, so
yes.
it's very much. I see the parallel of it.
Oh, that's very true.
Yeah.
And you've always had a wonderful voice, still do.
And I didn't really. I mean, I had the band. I mean, it wasn't my idea. I was just I'll just carry on forever, won't I? But it was like, oh yeah, that sounds good. But I didn't really have a regular singer, so that helped because that might have been a bit awkward.
Well, yes.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yes.
there was also Simon,
Yes.
so that's like the new boy, as he's famously known.
Yeah.
And are you going to come on board?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. We need to fit you in.
I do have one story about this Julia singing for a second. That is,
Yeah.
one of the things that crystallised in my mind, the fact that this would be amazing, was I hadn't heard Julia sing for many years, decades. And when our lovely mum passed away, and I came back and the funeral was there, everyone was so lovely and supportive, and I held it all together and everything. And it was sad, but it was a celebration of her life, and she was a very interesting lady and had a great life, and a great voice. But one instrumental moment in that time was, I remember standing at the front of the church at the funeral, and we all stood up, and it was time to sing a couple of hymns. And I was standing, of course, next to Julia, my lovely sister, and suddenly the singing started, and I just nearly lost it.
I think it's praise my soul, the King of Heaven.
It was amazing. There was just this amazing voice of an angel next to me, which I remembered
Money's in the post.
had not heard for so long, for decades.
Yeah.
And it was the most beautiful thing, and I just thought this would be just an amazing thing to hear again.
I was
Yeah.
amazed how well you did all that funeral, because I wouldn't have been able to do it.
Well,
Because you gave a bit of a eulogy and stuff.
Oh, right.
I did a little story. Yeah, here's
Yeah.
3 stories about their mum. Going to see the Human League on my ticket when they wouldn't let me in. 'cause
Oh,
I
did
was
you
too
say
young.
that?
Yeah.
You did.
So, so that was all. That was good. I enjoyed telling those stories. But that moment of hearing your voice after so long,
Ah.
standing, live, standing next to you, and it was just the voice of an angel. So anyway, that's when I was like, this has to happen.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
amazing because you've always been singing. Like your voice has always been amazing. So that was a really crystallizing moment, I think. Well, I really want this to happen, which is why I was so excited for it to happen. And then when
Right.
it did, when he suggested it, before I even asked you, it was like a miracle. So yeah, it was quite
Yes.
cool.
Well, there was all the talk of it's the 40th year, but that was during COVID.
Well, that would
Yeah,
have been,
that's true.
literally 2020. That was it. I was
Sort of
planning.
like
I was
some
planning a
sort of-
special gig or something at the
Yeah.
Belgrade where we did our first one. I thought,
Yeah.
and of course,
I thought,
could
well, I
happen
know the
like that.
songs.
Totally. Anyway, back to Sim.
Anyway,
So
the new boy.
yeah, so recently I'd been generally a 3-piece, been me and then Sim doing synths, and then there'd be a female singer, occasionally someone else, maybe a bit of guitar from Fendi and that'd
Violin?
been
Or
years.
violin too.
Occasionally a bit of violin, not so much live,
No.
Oh yeah, true.
but occasionally there has. There's like
Yeah.
Sharon in
Unborn. Yeah.
and Van Corvid in Toronto, she's done a lot of things, and different singers. There's Alia in Toronto that came and did Japan. Just in fact, that was the last time, wasn't it? Just before the lockdown was
December 20.
last time we did gigs with the singer, wasn't it? And she does her own projects and everything as well. So yeah, so we got Sim. So we need to fit you in
What made
somehow.
you
You are-
interested? And how did you meet?
I met Martin when I was at college doing music technology, and Martin was one of the tutors.
the main one.
Yeah.
Most important one. Best one. And you were the best student.
I was just getting into electronic music at that point. I was kind of into guitar stuff, and then yeah, at the time it was kind of just when computers were really PCs were becoming capable of starting to do things in the box, just vaguely.
Yeah.
But learning
With audio and stuff, and then just the start.
just
the-
about. I mean,
Just the start.
We didn't
yeah.
really get on that much, but it was like learning the basics of MIDI and DAWs and Cubase, basically. That was all part of the course, but I was just generally interested, and I wanted to be able to record music at home, and Martin helped me learn how to do that, basically.
And then you would say, "Oh, if you ever need a driver," wasn't there? I remember you were saying.
Well,
this.
yeah, I
And
mean,
I went,
but that was a bit.
"Oh, I might do." And
That was
then,
a bit later.
oh yes, that's after you'd left, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't while you were first at college. Actually, it was after, and you just got in touch, and I was quite impressed. I thought that's quite good.
Do you remember when
You know,
I
and
left you
I-
an answer phone message once?
I can't remember.
So somebody had said that you needed somebody to go and do a tour or something,
Yeah.
and so I just sort of managed to get your phone number off of someone, and then just cheekily phoned you up and left an answer.
That was probably
phone
what I'm
message.
thinking of. Actually, yeah. Maybe I didn't actually speak to you.
But then I came back to the college to do a further course later, and we got back in touch at that point.
Yeah.
And then you did need somebody a driver, so you sort of asked if I was interested at that point, and then
Yeah, we just did like Nottingham or something, and
yeah, there was a Slimelight gig.
Slimelight,
where
as
we ended
usual.
up going on stage at like
5 in the morning.
Yeah.
I'd already had to have a little nap, you know, and everyone had gone home really. It's,
sitting
that
on the
was
merch
daft.
stall, and
uh,
then I don't know.
then we went to
synth guy-
Hamburg.
Right,
Oh, did it? Oh, yes, because it was.
Craig left.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
at
So
some
there was a
point.
vacancy, but that's how it works, isn't it? You get your foot in the door. And then there was a vacancy, and then we went to Hamburg, and then the next week we went to Seattle for a long weekend and did the Convergence Festival,
Yeah, that was a good weekend.
May 2000, yeah.
Yeah,
We did drink rather a lot, actually.
yeah. So we did like
And it was all free.
Northampton, Nottingham, Hamburg,
Yeah,
There might have been one more gig and then Seattle.
yeah.
So that was a pretty good
That was
introduction.
like May 2000. Then we did some more, and then we went and did a big tour in September all over the States.
Mm.
And
That was pretty good too.
yeah, we did quite a lot then. But
Mm.
so really, since then, occasionally you've not done a few gigs or whatever here and there,
Mm.
but because occasionally it's been like. Oh, I do. Most years, Attrition have done gigs. It's very rare that there isn't any, but it's not like a constantly touring band or anything. I don't think I could do that. But yeah, so since then, so now it's the lineup is like this, really.
And it's great. It's complimentary as well. The way we've got 2 vocals and then 2 keyboards.
Yeah. Well, and then also when you hadn't been able to make the odd one,
Yeah.
lazing around in San Francisco,
It's true.
yeah, googling.
We're doing a job. Yeah.
It means that we can still do it, and we have a. Well, you could see people liked it in the review. It's like it's a bit more stripped down.
Yeah.
But that's fine as well, because that's often what we do. But that's good, really. So it means that we don't just go, we can't do the gig, and
Oh no, that's right. You've got to do it. which is
Yeah.
great. And you have done for a long, long time.
Yeah.
But I think there's now an opportunity for much more stuff.
Yeah, definitely, and recording as well.
It's been great doing these shows though, because for a long time, I've known you guys since I
You
joined
stayed
the
with
band
Ash,
or
didn't you,
whatever.
when we were
yeah,
in
yeah.
America?
So I've known you guys for a long time.
Yeah.
But especially with Julia,
Yeah.
it's like I've rehearsed with your vocals on tracks.
Oh,
So
right.
many, I've obviously listened to a lot of Attrition.
Yeah. Over the years.
And so then doing lots of shows without you, it was always a bit different, or not quite right, really. No disrespect to anybody else who has sang with us, because
Yeah.
they've all been good, but having you back in the band just sort of made it kind of whole again, or just complete maybe somehow. It just it was really good, because
It's made Attrition
can't
great
have-
again.
you can swap out a synth player, but you
Yeah,
can't.
we're doing hats.
You know what I mean? You can't replace somebody's actual voice.
It's hard, isn't it? Yeah,
I think that's
always-
true. I
It's
think that's
completely
spot on.
unique.
Yeah.
So
Occasionally you get that bit with like a really good guitarist or something.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah,
But
So,
yeah,
yeah.
less characteristic than a
It's been
than a-
really
than a
good.
voice.
vocal,
It's
yeah.
been
And Julia's voice is always kind of the original and the best.
yeah. I suppose there's albums and songs where Julia wasn't on, so obviously that's different, isn't it?
Yeah.
But when you have been on, do you remember when you did Fusillade, when we
Oh, yeah.
did that remix? I was too ill to go, which was like the only time ever in my life. I had actually bad flu. But you added to that and it was great, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But you weren't on the original, and you made it better. That's what I was saying about maybe having a go at the 50th gate or something like that.
Oh yes.
I think this is
Yeah,
a tremendous
that's
thing.
vocals.
Yes. Again, with the different technology and the modern technology and the difference in how we do things these days, even who we are. Like, it's a fantastic opportunity to revisit some of these old favourites,
absolutely.
Yeah.
make them modern. So I'm very, very excited.
Yeah. I
There's
thought,
lots of songs that we couldn't really do justice to live because Julia wasn't in the band.
That's true too.
Yeah.
Now
very
she is in the band, but we can approach songs that we couldn't before. So it's going to be good.
Yeah.
and I think at first there was a bit of talk of, what if we do old ones and blah blah blah, and like we were saying today earlier, it was like, I think it's nice to have a go at some, but not to concentrate on it, because that's to recreate, say, like the early first Attrition of Reason, you'd have to really do it all from again. And
Oh, yeah,
it
well,
wouldn't
that's
be
true.
the same, and it wouldn't be the point, and it would sound better quality, and that might actually spoil it. And but we're gonna have a go at a few things, so that's cool, because that like Shrink Wrap we were mentioning, which came out in '85 as a single, but was actually from '82, the original version. So it's actually one of the earliest tracks. Same as that. When people, sometimes it makes me laugh. They go, "Oh, I like your early sound better," and I go, "What do you mean?" They go, they go about some synthy, dancey thing that we did. Maybe I go, "Well, Death House and Shrink Wrap were probably the same month."
Yeah.
And then before that, it was a bit of a rackety anarchist punk band, and then you go, which early do you mean? And it's meaningless, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we've got the opportunity to do a few, and we'll do some of the old ones. But
Yeah.
at first I was thinking, oh God, that might just be too much work. But thinking we're going to do all of those,
Yeah,
but
we can't.
I don't think. The best thing is to do new songs. That we'll write new songs.
Yes, agreed.
That's always the best thing, isn't it?
Agreed. With a new album coming out, it's like a new opportunity to do new things
Yeah, I
together.
mean that's the end of a thing. But it's good that Julia's on it.
Yeah.
But it's like it took me a long time for lots of reasons. It's a bit weird because I feel a real relief, but also feel a bit like exhausted because I finished that and I like. But yeah, we've got lots of new ideas, so that'll be.
Well, it's been a long labour for you, hasn't it?
6 years that
Going
album,
into
but
the-
with all really bad. Well, not all really bad, but some bad things.
Yes.
Because the lyrics I write are really personal,
Right.
dear diary kind of thing, but in this dear surreal diary. And that I couldn't do it at some point, you know, I just didn't know what to say. I didn't have the answer.
Yeah.
So it's done now, that's all right.
Yeah. So it's time for the next era.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is good.
So, here we are. Make attrition great again.
Thank you.
Right, thank you, good night.
Cheers.